Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today, we're going to continue our discussion. We're going to continue our discussion on the topic of dissatisfaction. Why we become dissatisfied. So, first thing I need is yesterday we had trouble with this microphone when I was broadcasting. I was broadcasting on a Samsung phone and people said, I can't hear you. And they could hear me, but it was distorted. So I'm now plugged this microphone into my iPad. And so I need to know, is the sound good? It's the way I have it set up, it should be excellent. But there was some interference, I think, coming from the Samsung. So that's the first thing I need to know. So just let me know, does it sound good, clear? Is there any static? Because if there is, then I'm going to have to make another arrangement. Yes, it's great. Good. Okay. That means I can't use this microphone and adapter that I'm using in my Samsung because it's got some Shakti. Okay, now, having said that, I'm going to have to do one thing because we also record these classes. We also record these classes audio, so I have to stick a little plug in an output. Rainy day in Ireland for the sunshine of your classes. Hare Krishna. Okay, please hold on one second. Okay. Now I just have to check one thing and see if it works. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It doesn't work. Okay. It was supposed to work, and it's not working. So, I have to make another arrangement. Please hold on. I'm sorry, but life is like this. Now this... Bad starting, but right now, we're in my studio. Well, we're setting up a studio. This is my recording studio. You see these are reflector tiles. And we've got some new lighting and we're testing it out. I don't know if it's too bright or whatever. But this is the new recording studio. But we're not using the camera. And I have to do something with this microphone. And I guess we'll just put it on the table and hope for the best. And I will speak loudly because that way this microphone will pick it up better. So we've been talking about dissatisfaction, and there's one... I banged into a tree this morning. It was dark out. Don't walk under trees when it's dark, especially if you don't have hair. So there's a very famous statement, we say in ISKCON famous, because it's commonly expressed, it's commonly taught, it's well remembered, it has Shakti. And this class is about dissatisfaction. And one of the things that Prabhupada said was, frustration is due to want of an ultimate goal in life. So, of course, we understand the ultimate goal is Krishna. So people are frustrated because they don't end up with Krishna. So, that kind of easily solves the answer to the question of dissatisfaction. But, of course, in this class, in this discussion, Sundari Radha wanted me to go more deeply into it. So not only could we understand it for ourselves, but especially for people who are not yet Krishna conscious, or coming to Krishna consciousness, how they could understand dissatisfaction for them, what that means. So, of course, the heart, and we understand these things, the heart is hankering for love. And someone said, maybe some of you know who said this, they said that we're either motivated by the desire to love someone or the desire to find love, to give it or find it. These are the two motivations behind everything. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said something. Yesterday was his disappearance or appearance, I'm not sure. Was it disappearance or appearance? I think it was appearance day. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said something very, very simple but very profound, and it's in a song, it's a poem he wrote. And the song begins, I don't know if you've heard this song, it's if you have my CD. Bhakti Tirtha mentions that. Yeah. Love, either we're acting out of the need for it or giving it. So on my CD, on Everything Mahatma, there's a song, and it begins, alas for those who spend their days in festive mirth and joy, the dazzling, deadly, liquid forms their hearts for air employ. It's a song about what materialistic people are thinking and what they're doing. But there's one amazing line in that song, and maybe you've heard the song. Alas for those who spend their days. I don't know the title, I gave it on the CD, and you can go to Mahatma's Music, and it's under the section of unreleased music. It was never officially released. So, one of these amazing lines, in it, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, women, wine, and the flesh of beasts no love on thee bestow. Of course, it's poetic, so it's rhyming with something else. Women, wine, and the flesh of beasts no love on thee bestow. So why... anyway, okay, it's early. Get my thoughts together. We're saying that we're motivated by a need for love. A lack of that love causes dissatisfaction. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's indirectly saying that. Isn't that interesting? He's not saying you're looking for love, but indirectly he's saying you're looking for love by saying you want women, you want wine, you want meat eating, and then you can add your whole list to that. What else do you want? Whatever it is. Women, wine, and the flesh of beasts. Okay, add money, add fame, and so forth. But I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in saying women, wine, and the flesh of beast, if you have women, then you want money, you want prestige, and intoxication, meat eating. It's very popular. So, women, wine, and the flesh of beasts, no love on thee bestow. In other words, he's saying, you want love. That's what your heart's hankering for. And you're looking for happiness in women, wine, and so many other things. But they don't give you love. Isn't that nice? In other words, we can tell people, said, in everything you're doing, you're looking for love. But does going to a restaurant give you love? Does going to a movie give you love? Sometimes going to a movie makes you more depressed because you realize how much love you don't have in your life. Isn't it? So we're looking for love, and then we don't realize we're looking for love, so we're engaging in sense gratification to get pleasure. It doesn't satisfy the heart because the heart's looking for love. It's looking to be loved, it's looking to give love. Yes? Yes, no, maybe? You agree, right? So you can remember that, you can write it down. Women, wine, and flesh of beast, no love on thee bestow. And you can add to your list. Nothing in this world is bestowing love except bhakti. So that's the basic premise of why people are dissatisfied. And then you're looking for love through greed, lust, anger, envy, jealousy, and so forth. You're looking to find it, but you don't find it, then you're satisfied. And so the other common mistake, what's going on in society today, is if you don't find it in women, wine, and flesh of beasts, if you don't find it, then what do? You think, I need more women, I need more wine, and I need more flesh of beasts. Then I'll be happy. So the heart's empty, the heart's hankering for Krishna. We give it something else, it's not satisfied, we don't find love, so we think, I just need more of that. And so here's another little concept which is very important. More of the wrong thing is not going to solve your problem, it's not going to fill your heart. If just let's say you're sick and the doctor gives you a medicine and the medicine doesn't work and you think, well, medicine doesn't work, I'll just take more of it. But unfortunately it's the wrong medicine. So taking more of the wrong medicine is not going to solve your problem. You have to get the right medicine. So sensual pleasure doesn't fulfill the heart. It gratifies the senses temporarily, but it doesn't fulfill the heart. And that's why we keep wanting more, because the heart's still empty, so we hanker for more. And society has conditioned us to think that the problem is not that sense gratification doesn't satisfy us. The problem is we just don't have enough of it. So women, wine, and flesh of beast won't give you love, but you don't realize that, so you want more women, wine, and flesh of beast, thinking that will gratify you. And so the more you do it, the less you're gratified. Now, for us as devotees, it's important that we understand this and have faith in this, because if we don't, if we think, okay, the reason I'm not happy is I just need a bigger car, bigger house, bigger. Okay, that may be, your car may be falling apart and the springs are coming up from the seats and toxic smoke is poisoning your lungs. Okay, but we're not talking about practical things, but we're talking about the illusion that once I already have enough, then I need more. So, if we understand that the heart is hankering for love and that nothing in this world can give that to you, then you'll never see another person who has more than you and think this person is happier than me. Because you'll understand that it can't make you happy. And in fact, I've been having this experience lately. It's a very interesting experience. As most of you know, we've come back from Mayapur and now we're in Alachua, and so all these things I have were packed in boxes. And then I also got things that I needed in Mayapur. So I bring back the things I need. And then I come here and I see that I also have some of the things that I had in Mayapur, because I was in two places, kind of duplicates. And now I see I have more things than I actually need. And I'm starting it, how should I describe it? It's like overload. It's like something's too loud and hurts your ears. So it's like, okay, well, should I use this or should I use that? Well, they both do the same thing in different ways, and I don't really need both, but now I have both, and so now I have to take care of both and remember where I put this cable for that and put this plug for that and what goes with this. So I was experiencing this, I don't know how you should say it, just kind of, we could say dissatisfaction or just kind of overwhelm from having too much. It's like in Mayapur I had like just enough, just had basics. But here in America, if you need something, you just get it, try it out. Okay, we'll get this, but we'll get that in case this doesn't work. We could use that, and anyway, this is a back. And then you just, we're conditioned to think that if we just have more, we'll be a little happier. And so we as devotees have to understand that the heart is hankering for love. Women, wine, and flesh of beast don't give you love. Your little gadgets and gizmos and electronics, this and that, and you're comfortable, this is and that, and you're beautiful, this is and that, they don't give you love. So although externally it might create a nice environment, and we need a certain amount of sensual gratification to be peaceful, but beyond that, it not only doesn't it create love, which we're hankering for, but because it doesn't create love, there's a threshold where actually it makes us more unhappy. And this is a very important point. Let's say up to this threshold, a certain threshold, I need certain things just to be stable and balanced and normal. I need sufficient food, I need a place to live, sufficient clothes, sufficient friends, social environment, I need a decent car to get around, okay. Or there needs to be transportation I have access to, I need access to medical help, and so on. So we're not denying that. We need these things. If we don't have these things, we'll be very stressed out. And if we're not very Krishna conscious, we won't be happy if we have these things, if we don't have these things. But once you have what's sufficient, then if we're thinking, okay, I have what's sufficient, but if I had more than sufficient, I would be happy. The problem is it doesn't make you happy. It actually makes you empty. There's a threshold where you go beyond and you just get too much. And because it doesn't really give you love, it doesn't improve your consciousness, it can have a very depressing effect, because those were the things that you thought would make you happy, and they left you empty. Okay, you go and you buy an expensive this or that. But it's nice, you wear it or you look at it or you use it, but studies have said that no matter what happens to you, no matter what you get, either good or what happens to you negatively, 3 months later it has no effect on you. So you're beautiful this, you're beautiful that. In terms of your level of happiness and consciousness, you're the same. So whether you bought the Lexus or the Toyota Corolla, whether you bought the 2017 Lexus or the 1997 Toyota Corolla, we have a car, and it's kind of hard. We're sharing one car, and my daughter goes to school every day, and she needs to drive. So a devotee, he's selling a car with 250,000 miles on it. It's 1997. That's 20 years old, right? So it's kind of like an old car. So I'm thinking maybe we should get it. Although I don't have the money to get it right now. So Prabhu, could I give you $100 a month for the next year? So so that's kind of, we did get another car. When my wife came back, she got a car, and she got a very nice car. I mean, it's 10 years old, but it's a nice car, or 8 years old. But this car wouldn't be so nice. So I get this old 250,000 mile Subaru, and it's been around the block a few times. So, but 3 months later, the good car, the bad car, has no effect on my happiness. So that's where people run into a problem, because they did something that was supposed to make them happy, and now their heart's empty. So it's a real problem, isn't it? You agree? It's a real problem? Do you agree? So when the heart becomes empty, when you think something was supposed to satisfy you and it doesn't, it actually makes it worse. It's better you didn't do it. If you just didn't do it with the hope of being satisfied, you would be better off than doing it and finding out it doesn't satisfy you. Now, one of the most amazing things that's going on in the world, and it's affecting us, but particularly affecting non-devotees, is we have this experience over and over and over again, but we don't learn from it. We keep doing it. Now that didn't work, so I'll try more of that. Or that didn't work, so I'll try it this way. I'll add this spice, then it'll work. Now that didn't work. Like, well, I had a blonde girlfriend, that didn't work. Let me try a redhead. Well, that didn't work. Let me try a brunette. Well, that didn't work. Well, let me try, maybe a lady from Russia would be better. You see, so we're trying to fulfill our heart, fulfill the needs of our heart, fill our heart. We add more, because it can't be fulfilled through sense gratification, then we become more discouraged, more depressed. So that's what's going on. And we don't realize it, so we keep trying to do it, and we keep doing it, and it doesn't work. Now, What Prabhupada said, you may ask, okay, what you've said is clear, we understand it, Prabhupada's explained it, Krishna's explained it, and now we're still doing it. Why? It's a very good question, why we're still doing it. Okay, you could just say, the heart is weak, we can't control ourselves, the intelligence is weak. The heart and intelligence, they go together. Weak heart, weak intelligence creates a weak intelligence creates a weak heart. But there's another reason, which Prabhupada explained. He said that Maya will give you some pleasure, because if she doesn't give you some pleasure, then she can't bamboozle you to thinking that you can be happy. Because if every time you do something there's absolutely no pleasure and only suffering, obviously you're not going to do it. We're not that stupid. I mean, maybe we might try it a few times, but at a certain point we're going to say, no, that's it. I'm not going to do this anymore. Right? So Maya gives us a little pleasure. Oh, that was good. Even though there's sand in the sweet rice, but the sweet rice tastes good. And the sand kind of fell to the bottom, so I got a lot of the sweet rice without sand, but when I got to the bottom, it was a little sandy. Yeah, that was not so nice, but I got the sweet rice. Yes? So, therefore it requires intelligence to understand the sweet rice is at the bottom, the sand is at the bottom, and the sand is a little bit mixed in the sweet rice, and it's not going to be pure. And you're not going to be purely happy. So we need to understand how Maya works. And when you understand how Maya works, then you know where all the traps are and that you won't stand in the traps. Like they set these traps, they're called mines. And if you step on one, you'll blow up. And that's a kind of warfare. And I was in Israel once, and you drive by the border of Syria, and there's, it's just country or it's desert, and there's a barbed wire fence, and he goes, that's Syria. I mean, in a sense you could probably get in, dig a hole, but in that area they don't want you coming in. There are landmines everywhere and you don't see them, and if you step on it you'll blow up. So Maya has many landmines, and we are supposed to learn where those landmines are. That's the idea. Where are Maya's landmines? And you know how you find out where the landmines are? You read Prabhupada's books, and he explains the landmine. So this is one of the landmines of Maya. And this is explained in the story of Hiranyakashipu, because what Lord Nrsingadev did is he was having a good fight with Hiranyakashipu, and he let Hiranyakashipu think that he actually had a chance. Because if he just killed him right away or overpowered him right away, Hiranyakashipu wouldn't have had much enthusiasm to fight, right? But Lord Nrsingadev, he played with him. So Hiranyakashipu actually thought he could beat him, so he was fighting. And it's interesting because a lot of wrestlers, jiu-jitsu, boxers, and so forth, they use this technique to tire their opponent. So they let their opponent think they could win, and the opponent really tries, and they just kind of hold them back. And then when they see the opponent has lost energy, he's kind of weak, then they start fighting harder. So the opponent was quite enthusiastic that this guy is not such a great fighter, we can get him, and so they work really hard. And then the opponent thinks, okay, right now, after fighting half hour or whatever, he's really tired. He's going to be easy to defeat. So that's actually what Lord Nrsingadev did with Hiranyakashipu. So everything comes from Krishna, so that's where we got the idea. So in the purport there, Prabhupada explains that in the same way Maya lets us think we can actually be happy, Maya lets us think we can actually control, because she gives us a little control, a little happiness. Then she slaps us later. So we think, okay, next time I'm gonna be able to do this. I'm gonna figure out how to do this without getting the slap, because this time I got the slap. But next time you get it here, and then you get it here, then you get it here. But each time you're thinking, well, let me figure out how to do it without getting the slap. And so Prabhupada is saying, no, you're going to get the slap. It's Maya's trick. You have to understand that. If you don't understand that, you'll get slapped. So one time there was a morning walk, and on the morning walk, there were many times there were morning walk. On the morning walk, Prabhupada said, "Do you believe in Krishna?" And he said, "Do you believe in our philosophy?" And he said, "Because you have to have faith. If you're going to teach this, if you're going to give this to others, you have to have 100% faith." Okay, we understand that. We have faith in Krishna. We have faith in Srila Prabhupada. But more specifically, do we have faith in what Krishna and Prabhupada are saying on a practical level? Do I really understand this? That sense gratification won't make me happy. Do I understand? Do I live that way? So, hopefully, this class is helping clarify a little more what you probably already know and realize, but clarifying it a little more. The heart is hankering for love, material things, material sense gratification, that relationship between senses and sense objects. There's no love there. Even though you say, "I love my iPhone," there's no rasa there. When we say, "I love something," we're just talking about sense gratification. So there's no rasa, there's no relationship of love and affection in a relationship with an inanimate thing. And today we often treat people like things. We have relationships and treat people like things. So there's no love there. And if we try to control and exploit and enjoy someone, there's no love there. And so all we're doing is trying to increase the sensual pleasure we get. And there is sensual pleasure. There's no question. There is sensual pleasure. But sensual pleasure on one hand and satisfaction on the other hand are two different things. And so sensual pleasure and happiness. Here's sensual pleasure, here's happiness. So we would think sensual pleasure goes up. Whoops, do it this way, it's easier. Sensual pleasure goes up, happiness will go up. No, not necessarily. Sensual pleasure goes up, happiness goes up, then it comes back to where you are. And as we're discussing, sometimes it goes down below where your consciousness was because you're dissatisfied. So sensual pleasure goes up, little happiness goes up, again you come back to your normal state of consciousness because the sensual pleasure doesn't permanently do anything to your consciousness. It doesn't give you any kind of permanent happiness or satisfaction. It just gives a little bit and then you come back, and oftentimes you come back to a lower state where you have to suffer the consequences of that. So we have to be very clear about that. Happiness comes from our relationship with Krishna. Happiness comes from hearing and chanting. Happiness comes from serving our spiritual master. If we avoid these things in the attempt to be happy, we're actually crazy. Now, we might say non-devotees are crazy, but we're more crazy because they don't know that, and we know that. So if we do it, we're crazy on steroids. We're crazy plus steroids, if you understand the expression. Yeah, that's the reality. It's like when you become a devotee, then you know all these things. But non-devotees, they don't know all these things. So we could say they're crazy, they're mad, they're running after Maya, they're running after sense gratification. That's okay. It's true. But they don't know they're crazy and mad. They don't know there's an alternative. We know there's an alternative. So who's really crazy? If we run after it and we know the philosophy, we're the crazy ones, right? Yes. So it's very, very important. If we want to advance and progress in Krishna consciousness, we have to find our satisfaction in Krishna. And we talked about that in yesterday's class. We have to find our love, our connection in Krishna. So, either we're looking for love or we're giving love, and that's the main motivation. Krishna Karshani says, what about love between devotees? We discuss this topic about love between devotees in the series on sacred union, and it comes up in, I think, one of the beginning, first 4 or 5 lectures. It comes up because we always, I don't know, sometimes we get mental when we talk about affection, because affection means attachment. And we get more mental when it's attachment between the sexes, because our scriptures talk about it so much. So maybe you know this verse. This verse was spoken by Kapila Dev to Devahuti. He said that whatever attachment you have in this world for anyone or anything, if that same attachment is placed on the devotee, in other words, you become attached to the devotee, that's very good. But then you might say, but Queen Kunti, she prayed, break my attachment. So it appears to be a contradiction. So attachment to a devotee, in the sense that Lord Kapila Dev is saying, is a pure attachment of service, of affection, of whatever your relationship is. It might be service, it might be equals, affection, revealing your mind. It might be that you're serving, but it's not a relationship of sense gratification. So when Kunti says, please sever my attachment, she's saying, or playing the part of someone who has material attachment to her sons. So they say that, my sons are devotees, that's good, but the part of me that's materially attached, please sever that. So if your affection is through material attachment, that's not good. If your affection is purely through spiritual attachment, that's good. And so you might say, well, how do you know the difference? Well, just judge by the result. Are you trying to control and enjoy someone? Or are you trying to serve them? Are you trying to cultivate Krishna consciousness in that relationship? Or are you trying to cultivate sense gratification? So when two devotees come together, they churn the ocean of nectar, they cultivate Krishna consciousness, and they both advance. When two people come together, and they could be devotees in some cases, and they come together for what purpose? To expand the ocean of sense gratification, the rasa of sense gratification. And so that's material. That's attachment, and that kind of affection is destructive. There was two devotees that joined in 1970-71 in Vancouver, and they were like this. They're really, really tight, really good friends. And I would give them service, and the devotees would tell me, they said, when we do service together, we get into Maya because we were such close friends before, and we have such a past of sense gratification together. So I said, don't put us together because we just bring one another down. So that would be an example where two people come together, even though they're devotees, and the result of being together is their level of sense gratification, or their effort to enjoy is increasing. Whereas opposed to putting two devotees together and they're churning the ocean of nectar, discussing Krishna Katha and enhancing one another's Krishna consciousness, which means also the byproduct of that, becoming detached. And so that's Krishna consciousness, what it's all about. That's Tushanti cha Vramanti cha, Bodhyantas parasparam, discussing amongst oneself. And Tushanti, we feel satisfied. When we do that, Ramanti, we feel pleasure. So this is Tushti. Sundari Radha, there's a word Tushti. Tushti means satisfied. There's another word for satisfied. It starts with an S. Santosh. Santosh. Santosha. That means satisfied. So now Kruti is saying, what about when wealth is collected for service or to be dovetailed, but it also becomes sense enjoyment? What sense enjoyment? Sense enjoyment, you like making the money, or you have so much of it that you can give so much away to Krishna and you still have tons of money left over, and therefore you fall into Maya and you buy a 92-inch television. No, you get a movie screen, and you get a room big enough for it, and you get like $10,000 sound system. What do you do then? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I was just reading where Prabhupada, a devotee told Prabhupada, he said, sometimes when my mind is difficult to control, I chant loudly. And Prabhupada said, yes, I also chant loudly. He said, yes, whenever your mind is difficult to control, chant loudly. So whenever you're going crazy and your mind is saying enjoy, your senses are saying enjoy, chant loudly. So I read something, not by a devotee, but it's very Krishna conscious. And this was a book about building wealth, or it was a discussion about building wealth. And the man was very religious and very pious. This was probably spoken 50, 60, 70 years ago when society wasn't so crazy, so materialistic as it is now. Now people are pretty much crazy. In previous times there was more of a class distinction, so there were the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots just kind of accepted that they're not going to have what the haves have. And so people were used to being have-nots. Now in our society, the line is blurred between the haves and the have-nots. The haves have iPhone 7s and the have-nots have iPhone 7s. And the haves have cars and the have-nots have cars. And the haves have nice homes and the have-nots have nice homes. And the haves wear nice clothes and the have-nots wear nice clothes without the labels. Isn't it? So, yes. So what was I just saying? I completely forgot. I was going to tell a story about someone or something. I got so excited, I forgot. What were we talking about? Somebody tell me, remind me, text me. What was I saying? I was like leading into something. Exciting. So exciting. I got so excited, I totally forgot what I was leading into. As I said, the problem is too much halava when I was a brahmachari, and all the ghee is still stuck in the neurons and they're not firing. So I read something Prabhupada was the pious guy. That's it, the pious guy. Yeah, thank you, Nick. Nick is paying attention. Yeah, I read something from the pious guy, or heard something, and he said, I really like this, and this is really good, and you're really going to love it, and it's going to impress you like anything. You know what I just did? I got your interest, didn't I? Yeah, okay, now we're listening. He said, when you have a plan to make money, as many people do, I want to make a lot of money. It's just the way it is now. Everybody wants to make a lot of money because they think if they make a lot of money, then they're going to be happy and they can buy the $4,000 massage chair and they can drive the best car and, any little gadget they see on the internet or big gadget or big toy, they could buy it. So they think, if I could do that, I'd be happy. So everyone wants to make money. So he's addressing that need. He said, if you want to make a lot of money, the first thing you want to do is think, where are you going to give that money? What project, what mission, how is that money going to help? In other words, don't just make money for your sense gratification. That is like ridiculous. It's stupid. It's animalistic. It's empty. You're going to work your whole life just to make money for you and your kids. That is empty. It's unintelligent. It's self-destructive, destroying the world. You're just buying stuff, exploiting the resources of the world just to be happy and have a lot of stuff. He said, think, what can you do with the money? What mission can you use that money for? Then the universe or God, because he was a religious man. Now they say universe because they're impersonal and they don't want to offend anybody by saying God. But he's saying God is going to be more likely to bestow upon you wealth if you have a mission for it, if you have a purpose for it. But if it's just for your sense gratification, then, it's completely, totally under karma. Whether you're going to get it or not, it's just a karmic thing. But if you have a greater cause, then Krishna can give it to you and say, okay, now you have an idea how to use it. And so what's valuable about this is that when you get it, it's not like, well, now I have $10,000. I could buy that Bose $10,000 surround speakers out of this world system. But you don't. You buy the little $60 Bose speakers because you've already dedicated that $10,000 to this mission, to this project, whatever it is. So, Kruti, you can make a lot of money if you like, but you have to have a vision. Where's that money going to go? What it's going to be used for? Specifically, before you start making it. Of course, you're already making money now, but if you want to make more, you think, where's this money going to go? What it's going to be used for? How is it just going to Mayapur? Is it going to publish books? Is it going to help this, help that? So I like that idea. So I'm just going to go back a little to see if I missed anything. And so then Krishna Karshni says, I don't mean only man and woman love, Should we try to develop loving relationships with other devotees? Yeah, as long as, there's a story. No, it's the same principle. As long as the relationship helps your Krishna consciousness. If the relationship inhibits your Krishna consciousness, then what's the point of that relationship? You could say that satsanga, it's, I'm a devotee, you're a devotee, we associate together, we fall into Maya. Is that satsanga? Sat means real, truth. So devotees called sat because they're dedicated to truth. So, and then there's asatsanga. Means the opposite, not true. So we say asatsanga tyaga e Vaishnav achar. The ideal behavior of a Vaishnav is to avoid association of non-devotees. That Mahaprabhu was asked, what is the behavior of Vaishnav? He said, the behavior of Vaishnav is don't associate with non-devotees. Wow, amazing. So let's say you have two devotees and their association is churning the ocean of sense gratification. They're in total Maya. They forget Krishna. There's no Krishna there. Is it satsanga or is it asatsanga? I'm not going to say. You answer the question. Of course, it could always turn into satsanga. I gave away the answer. From asatsanga. But to assume that because two devotees are coming together, it's satsanga, not necessarily. Now, there is a devotee who plays golf. And he thought, well, let's have a golf tournament for devotees. And we'll invite all the devotees who play golf. Now you're probably thinking, are there a lot of devotees who play golf? I don't know. I know one who does it as a profession. So it kind of created a little stir where devotees are saying, what's going on? We're all going to get together and play golf. This is sadhu sangha. And so devotees were complaining about this. This is not sadhu sangha. This is not the way you come together. Bodhyantas parasparam, Krishna says in the Gita, talk about me. Discuss the philosophy. Look at it from different points of view. That's sangha. Not that you go out and do something material and call that sangha. Now, of course, a lot of times we might do something with our families, recreation. We go to the beach, we go swimming, we relax. We work, devotees, we work so hard, we need a little relaxation. Even Prabhupada, when he came to San Diego, he asked the temple president, are you going swimming in the ocean every day? So, it's exercise. We need some exercise. But what do we do when we get out of the ocean? Or what do we do in the ocean? Haribol, go Ranga Nitananda. Here comes a big wave. Go Ranga, dive under that wave, Nishringadev, And then we go back, we're sitting on the beach, we're in the sun, we're drying off. What are we doing? We're talking about the philosophy, we're talking about how to spread Krishna consciousness. So that's Sangha. So that's what devotees do. And so, if you know somebody who's an ocean of nectar and when you're around them you feel inspired and and you're attached to that person, that's a good person to be attached to. But if you're attached to a person who enhances your sense gratification, that's not a good person to be attached to. So when a man and woman come together, the idea is to increase sense gratification. When a male and female devotee come together, the idea is to increase Krishna consciousness, but sometimes they increase sense gratification on the way, or a little of both. So we have to be careful. So, yes. But if we go back to our original point is the heart is hankering after love. And that love is love for Krishna, and then you love other devotees in relation to Krishna, and that satisfies your heart. So, that was the introduction. That was a long introduction, right? We're left with 15 minutes, although we could go longer. So, I wanted to read some things that Prabhupada has written to make this auspicious. I'm going to read what we read last week, because I don't know if you've heard this. This is very interesting. It's from the second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is so powerful. Every living entity has, I'll tell you where it's from. It's from 2.6.46, in case you want to note it or you want to read along with me. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6.46. Every living entity has a tendency to hear pleasing messages. And as such, almost every one of us is inclined to hear news and talks broadcast by the radio station. So as you know, news is very popular. Village talk, it's called Gramya Katha. Gramya means village, and Katha means talk, discussion. So Gramya Katha, village talk, means just unimportant things. What happened to this one? What happened to that one? That's village talk. You know, he got married, he died, he got good grades in school, he got a new job, he's selling his business, like that. So Prabhupada's saying everyone is inclined to hear, especially today, people are inclined to hear about movie stars, sports stars. They're very inclined to hear about sports, especially men, politics, especially men, but women also, and stock market, business people. They're inclined to hear about business. So newspaper. Newspaper is just Gramya Katha. So Prabhupada's saying everybody's into it, and everybody now with a smartphone can keep up on all the latest. We want to hear pleasing messages. Like if you don't like Trump, any article that says Trump is bad, or Trump is a jerk, or Trump is stupid, or Trump is going to be prosecuted, or looks it's dangerous for him, or he's made another bad decision, that's very pleasing to you. You like that. So that's what Prabhupada's saying. We like to hear pleasing messages. If I hear something bad about someone I don't like, that's a pleasing message. And every one of us is inclined to hear news and talks broadcast by the radio stations. But the difficulty is that no one is satisfied at heart by hearing all those messages. You know, you hear the news, and after you hear the news, you say, Jai, I'm so inspired. No, it's just depressing. And you can feel the difference between hearing Krishna Katha and hearing mundane Katha, because mundane Katha will only deal with your senses, your mind, and your intelligence on the material level. Transcendental Katha will deal with your mind, intelligence, and senses on the spiritual level, and you feel different. You feel purified, you feel more relieved, you feel happier, you feel more satisfied. You can't feel that way for material messages. Now, there may be material messages that help us. They maybe help pacify our mind, or help direct us, help us become better people. That's good. If you hear a message that helps you in a way that you can apply that to Krishna consciousness, that's good. But that message in and of itself, it doesn't purify your mind and senses. It may help direct you. You know, maybe you learn a reading technique where you can read faster. So that's good. You can read Bhagavatam in half the time and retain more. That's great. So you study it. But so after you study it, you're inspired to apply that to Krishna consciousness, but it is not purifying your mind and senses. So you feel different when you're hearing and chanting about Krishna. And therefore Prabhupada's saying here, the difficulty is that no one is satisfied at heart by hearing all those messages. Because the heart wants Krishna, the soul wants Krishna. Okay, let's give an analogy. I give this analogy sometimes, and I think it's a good analogy, and if you like it, you can use it. Krishna Karshani says, we women have the tendency for village talks. That's okay, because now you can take that tendency to talk and talk about Krishna and talk your way back to Godhead. So that's good. You can talk your way back to Godhead by talking about Krishna. So, talk more, Krishna Karshani, about Krishna. And you will talk your way right out of the material world. And you will be so satisfied talking about Krishna that you may never go shopping again. You just may think, oh, I'm just going to wear these old clothes for the rest of my life, because all I have to do is talk about Krishna and I'm happy. So, now, I was going to tell you a story and I completely forgot. What was I going to say? Remind me. Satisfied by hearing. No one is satisfied by hearing all those messages. Now I forgot the story. Oh my God. You know, this class started at 6:15 this morning. Oh, you know what the problem is? I don't know what's going on, but like after 5 hours, I just wake up. Just like wake up. And then the whole day I go and I'm not tired. And an analogy, all right. I'm not tired and I think I'm not getting enough sleep and my brain is like, because Prabhupada said, sleep and memory and intelligence, they go together. Didn't he say that? I can't remember if he said that yet. What was the analogy? The analogy of what? What was I saying before? I talked about the analogy. There's an analogy. Oh, yeah, I remember now. Okay, thank you. If I didn't have you, I don't know what I would do. If this gets worse, you're going to have to come to Alachua and just help me remember where I put my keys. No, actually, what's been happening since I got back to Alachua, there's so many things to do simultaneously. I'm doing like 5 things at once every day. And I think it's unhealthy to do that, and my brain is like 5 places at once. So, imagine you have an itch right here on your back, and I can't stretch like a great yogi, but if I was a great yogi, I could stretch and I could get both my hands together. And if I could do that, I could probably touch everywhere on my back. You're all invited to come to Alachua and help. We have 5 acres here. You can plant, you can pick weeds, you can paint our house, you can help me set up my studio. Is like, look at, okay. No, I was going to, maybe I can turn the camera around and show you. I don't know. No, I can't. I'll show you what it looks like, the mess it is. So anyway, so there's this spot on my back, and I have an itch, and I can't reach it. It's just that spot, there's some spot where your hands won't reach. And this itch is driving you crazy. Have you ever had an itch that's driving you crazy? And so you ask a friend, can you scratch my back? The itch is right there. It's driving me crazy. Ah! Have you ever had that experience? Isn't it interesting to have a material body? How uncomfortable it can be? It's just amazing that sometimes it's just like one little itch. One little bug that's bothering you, it could actually drive you crazy. I think, sometimes they torture people to get them to spill the beans. Spill the beans means tell the truth, who committed the crime. But, sometimes a little itch, just, a little feather on your face or in your ear, just that itching, could actually drive you crazy. And you go, okay, I'll tell you, stop that feather in my ear, I'll tell you. Isn't it? It's just, having a body is a very precarious, we're in a precarious position, having a body, because even a little itch can make us go crazy. That's my back itches. Can you get it there? It's driving me crazy. So you point to where it is in general, because you can't actually reach it. It's right there. It's between here and there. And so the person says, okay. So the person's scratching your back. And what's happening? They're scratching everywhere but that spot. Now, I think most of us will agree that if you have your back scratched, it's pleasing. I mean, if someone does it right and they do it nicely, it's very nice, it's very pleasing, right? Yes, it feels very good. But that same back scratching, although it's pleasing, because it's not hitting the spot, it's driving you more crazy. Because the more he's scratching your back, which in this analogy would be compared to having more things, whatever it is. More relationships, more physical things, more success, more honor, whatever it is that you want, you have more of it. So scratching your back is like having more of it. But he's missing the spot, and the more he scratches, the more he's going crazy. No, you almost got it. It's almost there. And he never gets it. Okay, I have that's one analogy. He never gets it. That's material life. You never get the spot. So that spot's always itching. Of course, that spot means that's devotional service. You don't satisfy the soul. So you've satisfied everything. Senses, mind, intelligence. You've satisfied everything except the soul. So you're not satisfied. Something's missing. Now, another analogy. He scratches it. And what do you say? Ah, right? So that's how we feel in Krishna consciousness. When we chant good rounds, we feel, I feel satisfied. When we hear katha, when we do service pleasing to Krishna and Guru, we feel satisfied. That's the scratching. Now, there's another interesting phenomena. I don't know if you have this, but I have this phenomena on my heel, that sometimes my heel itches. And it doesn't matter if I scratch it, because it doesn't relieve the itch. And I'm scratching right on where it's itching, but it's like the itching is like inside under the skin, so scratching the skin doesn't do anything. It's a little bit frustrating. And my analogy for this is, you're doing something that's supposed to make you happy, and you're scratching right on the spot, so you're doing the exact thing. You read all the books, this is supposed to make you happy, you're doing all the right things, you got the job, you got the money, you got the this, you got that. You're scratching, and you think you're scratching on the itch, and it doesn't go away. I don't know if any of you have experience that sometimes you have an itch and it's very frustrating. You scratch right on it, but you can't get rid of it. Another situation, another interesting situation of having a material body. Does any of you have that experience? Am I the only one that has an itch that when you scratch, you don't feel anything? It's like Novocaine, you don't feel it, and you're scratching, and it's dead. So material life is often like that. You're doing everything right. You're doing everything you're told that will make you happy, and you're scratching on the itch. You actually are scratching on the itch, and it doesn't go away. The itching still continues. So now we could use another analogy. Lauren, okay, definitely. At least, okay, if Lalita Priya says definitely, then it's definitely. Lalita Priya, I took the light from here and I put it there because I realized what was happening is on the camera is so good, it looks better, and this is the iPad, and iPad is more realistic. It just gives you what you get. So I did it. I don't know if you like the lighting or whatever, but we're trying it. So, yes. Now, the analogy of the itch is, in Krishna consciousness, we also have itches, right? We have material hankerings because we're conditioned souls. And when you come to Krishna consciousness, it's not like, hey, all my desires go away. I'm completely renounced. I'm just like, everything's fine. No, it's not like that. So you have an itch. So now, how do you scratch the itch? As I'm doing this, I'm scratching because I'm vata, I have dry skin, and it's itchy. And when I was in Poland, I got bitten by strange bugs, and they're still itchy. You can see on my arm. I will demonstrate. I don't know if you can see it, but there's strange living, no, you can't see. There's strange living entities. Oh, there you can see. I don't know what they are, if they were ticks or what. But, so, how do I, and it's itching, but how do I scratch it in a way that I can get rid of the itch and not draw blood? And the Prabhupada once said, sense gratification is like an itch. You scratch, you scratch, you scratch, and then there's blood. So material life means scratch, 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 and then there's blood. Oh, now it hurts. And Krishna consciousness, not perfect Krishna consciousness is, you don't have to scratch because you're in another realm. You don't even know it itches. And becoming Krishna conscious is, okay, how do I scratch this in a way that I could relieve the itching and not make it worse? Because if I'm not careful, what happens when I scratch? If you have ever had poison ivy, don't scratch it, because the more you scratch it, the more it will itch. And we know that material life is like that. The more you scratch it, the more it itches. So then The question is, how do I scratch it because it's itching, it's driving me crazy. I have to do something to relieve it. Okay, here's a little salve, little cream, put it on to relieve the itch. That's one way to do it. Or just touch it lightly, but don't touch your nail. It'll go away a little bit. So we have to satisfy our senses so that we can be peaceful here, so our mind won't go crazy. But we don't think that the sensual gratification is going to make me happy. It's going to make me satisfied. What we think is that sensual gratification, whatever little bit I need, is going to make me calm, balanced, peaceful, so that I can engage in devotional service, because it's devotional service that's going to make me satisfied. Yes or yes? I'm glad you agree. So understand, what is the position of sense gratification in Krishna consciousness? That's the position that I need. I have certain needs. Like people would ask Prabhupada about sex. He said, we don't deny sex. He said, if you want sex, get married. And so what did Prabhupada mean? He said, okay, if you have that need, fulfill it in a way that eventually you won't have the need. So we're trying to fulfill the needs of our senses so we can be peaceful, and also so we can progress in Krishna consciousness, so at some point we won't have those needs, or the needs will be minimal. So we're not against sense gratification. We're against sense gratification that's opposed to bhakti. We're against sense gratification with the idea that this sense gratification is going to make me, the spirit soul, happy. If we think that way, then how are we any different than anybody else? I need to say, should I get married? Shouldn't I get married? Should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? If it will help you, if you need that, if it will pacify you so that you can go on with your devotional service, then do it. If you're just doing it for sense gratification, no, don't do it for sense gratification. It'll be a mess, because sense gratification robs you of your Krishna consciousness. The Bhagavatam gives an example that there's water in an area where there's bamboo, and bamboo has the nature that it sucks the water up. So sense gratification is like bamboo, and it sucks up your Krishna consciousness. So sense gratification, which helps us, pacifies us so that we can focus on our devotional service, is not really sense gratification in the negative sense. It's just what we need to do to execute our devotional service. That's fine. But if it's just sense gratification for the sake of sense gratification, then it's detrimental. So let's continue reading. Here's the punchline. But the difficulty is that no one is satisfied at heart by hearing all those messages. Here's the punchline. This is so nice. The cause of such dissatisfaction is the incompatibility of the message with the innermost stratum of a living soul. The incompatibility of the message. In other words, that message is not connecting with the soul. That message is only connecting with the mind, intelligence, or senses. You may remember Prabhupada created an album. It's called the Happening Album. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That was, I think, the first album they created. And then on that album, he read something that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote about the holy name, and in there he said it goes beyond the mental, sensual, mental, and intellectual. He said you don't need to understand the language of the mantra because it's transcendental to intelligence, mind, and senses. So that means it's not, you may perceive it with mind, senses, and intelligence, but it's acting on the spiritual level. If it's a pure holy name from a pure devotee, chanted purely, and you receive it purely, then it's acting on the soul. So Prabhupada's saying here, material messages, they act on the body, and so they can't satisfy you because it's either an intellectual, you're thinking of it intellectually, you're thinking of it mentally, you're thinking of it emotionally, you're thinking of it sensually. So let me read that again. This is so nice, you could make a t-shirt. The cause of such dissatisfaction is the incompatibility of the message with the innermost stratum of the living soul. The innermost stratum of the living soul, it's not touching the innermost stratum. I mean, we could say it's not touching the core of the heart. That soul, you see, we as spirit soul, we left Krishna. You probably know that, right? So we left Krishna, bad choice. We may have made many bad choices since then, but that was the worst choice we ever made. We left Krishna, and therefore everything we're doing outside of bhakti, it's not touching the innermost stratum of the soul. Now, you might say, why did Krishna make it that way? Because now I'm frustrated, because everything I'm doing that's supposed to make me happy, and I think my neighbor's happy because he's doing it, it's not making me happy, and then I think, must be something wrong with me. He looks really happy. I mean, he's always smiling whenever he sees me. He waves and says hi, and his wife waves and says hi, and they look like a happy couple, and why is it that I'm not happy, and I got the house, the car, the job, the position, the Gucci clothes, and why isn't it working for me? It seems to be working for them. What's going on here? I forgot again. I know the problem is fluorescent lights. The fluorescent lights are destroying my brain. Maybe I should change out these lights to get some incandescent lights. Someone tell me. Lita Priya, should I get incandescent lights? I'm forgetting everything I'm saying. Okay. Everything we do, oh yeah, I remember what I was saying. So everything you do materially, it can give pleasure intellectually, mentally, and sensually, and it can give you some level of satisfaction, but there's going to be some level of dissatisfaction. So let's say Tracy's husband is a musician, and Tracy's husband plays guitar and sings, and he sings really well, and he writes songs. Right, Tracy? So, when he plays, Tracy's watching from South Africa. So, when he plays, he feels satisfaction, right? But if he keeps playing and playing and playing the same song, at some point, he doesn't feel satisfaction. It's like, okay, it's a good song. It had its time and day. I'm over it. Let's write a new song. Yes? So if that's the Tracy Hines, I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's another Hines. Maybe it's the Hines ketchup. I don't know. So, the point Prabhupada's saying is that you can get some satisfaction materially, but it's going to turn to dissatisfaction because it doesn't connect with the inner stratum of the soul. So we were saying, okay, why did Krishna do that? Because it's so frustrating. Because you think, well, I'll just do this, I'll do that, and then there's always something missing. There's something empty. Why did say Krishna shouldn't have done that? Yes, it's Tracy from South Africa. Hi, Krishna, Tracy. So why did Krishna do that? So I was talking with my wife last night, and we have a dear friend. I told you she visited us in Mayapur, and 2 months or so after she visited us, she just left her body with a 9-year-old son, a husband, and it was just like, she was 52. Now, if you're 20 or 15, 52 is like old. If you're my age, 52 is not old. When I was young, my father's business partner had a heart attack and died when he was 50, and my mother said, he was so young. And I was like 10. I'm like, young? He's not so young. That's old. But it's too young to die. So she died. She left her body. And it just happened in a few months. And the body deteriorated from cancer. It was like, what a shock. And so there was a memorial service. We have the pamphlet of the memorial service. They made a bookmark with her picture. And it's like, I was just like with her in India, and it's just like, she's not there. That body's gone. That person is somewhere else. And my wife and I were talking. It's like almost like, don't you ever feel like you say, that's not fair? It's just like you have a relationship with somebody and they're taken away from you. That's not fair. Krishna, that's not fair. How could you do this? It's just like there's a person, you're interacting, like you're married to someone. Her husband, he's the father of their son, he's her husband, they have a home, they have service together, and then she's taken away and she's gone and that's it. That's not fair. It doesn't make sense. There's something wrong with this. Krishna, this is not right. It's just torture. You're just taking loved ones away and then they become other people and they have relationships with other bodies and other lives. It's like, isn't it? If you think about it, isn't it like that? And it's just like, and so we were thinking about it and I told my wife, I said something I think is very important, and it relates to this idea that sensual pleasure doesn't satisfy us ultimately. It can give us temporary satisfaction. And I told my wife, I said, if the world were not like this, I don't think anyone would ever get out of it. As if Krishna just said, no, these relationships are forever. You can be here forever. You can be satisfied for here forever. And I'll just make this world like the spiritual world, except the only difference is I won't be there. But other than that, it's like you can have a spiritual body. Anything you want, desire trees will give you. You can enjoy. You'll be satisfied. Everything's blissful. I just won't be here. You won't have a relationship with me. How many people would reconnect with Krishna? Probably this many. 0. Because even the demigods, their lives are temporary. They have to deal with the demons sometimes, and there's battles and there's difficulties. They're still in the material world, although obviously in a better position, but still they say it is difficult to detach from our life and go back to Krishna. And I told that story. Krishna was willing to offer the demigods a one-way free ticket, all expenses paid, to the spiritual world, and they refused it. They just wanted him to solve their problems on this level. So, if we could be satisfied materially, if we didn't die, not one of us would ever reconnect with Krishna. And Krishna wants us so much to reconnect with him, and he's so smart. He created death and rebirth, and he created a situation where, as Prabhupada says, there's an incompatibility between what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what we're smelling, tasting, and touching, and the innermost stratum of the soul. The soul's saying, nah, doesn't work for me. And the ear is hearing something, nice sound, la-di-da-da-da, and you feel very good. The soul's saying, no, that doesn't work for me. You're embracing a beautiful man, beautiful woman, you feel so good. The soul says, no, that doesn't work for me. The innermost stratum of the soul, it's incompatible. It's not aligned. The soul has a different need. So it's Krishna's mercy that he created that incompatibility. It's Krishna's mercy that he created the temporality of this world, because if he didn't, none of us would be here today talking about Krishna, being able to relish Krishna consciousness, having met our spiritual masters, having a desire to go back to Godhead. None of us would be here. We would just be out on the beach surfing, laying in the sun, drinking coconuts, saying everything is great, I'm happy. Maybe smoking some pot and having a different girlfriend every month or a different boyfriend. Yes? Admit it, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we'd be doing. But we don't do it because it doesn't work. And because it doesn't work, we think, why doesn't it work? And therefore, we come and we study Bhagavad Gita and surrender to Krishna. So, yes. That's it. That's it. That's just the way it is. And Hare Krishna. So, now, some of you have just joined recently, and I've just finished. These classes will go on SoundCloud, they'll go up on Facebook, and they'll also go up on my YouTube channel, Mahatma Das on YouTube. But I'm not going to stop yet, but I will stop talking. And if you have any questions or you want to add any comments, add them now. And did you know that if you just go on the chat and send out a heart or a like or a comment, it sends it to all your people, so all your people get to see it. So that's a great way we can, if you feel this class would be helpful for other people, send a heart or a like or make a comment. Just say Hare Krishna Prabhu, whatever you like to say. And that automatically, as far as I know, maybe somebody knows better, automatically that I think it gets, you give people in your Facebook, your friends, the opportunity to see it. Yeah. The reason these points are important is because when you come to the stage where you are convinced that you can enjoy materially, then your devotional service just takes off, because you have no impediment in your mind thinking, oh, I could still be happy if I do this and that. Because the conditioned mind, that's what it does. Even though the intelligence, it understands, if I do this, it won't work, the mind says, but maybe we could do it this way. Maybe I just don't know how to enjoy it. I could do it this way, and then it'll work. So that's the idea. So, Hare Krishna. So that's the idea, that if we understand that whatever we're doing, there's an materially is incompatible with the soul, and therefore there's a dissatisfaction, it's a disalignment, it's a dissonance. Think of it this way: the English word dissonance, it means it's like two sounds, two notes, and they don't go together. Kind of creates a dissonance. So there's a dissonance between the vibration of the soul and the vibration of the mind, body, and senses. They vibrate on different levels, and they have different needs, and they want different things. So if you understand that in trying to gratify yourself, there's going to be a dissonance between you, what you need as a soul, and what your senses need. And therefore, you understand and are convinced that what I need is love of Krishna, and that anything else, I only need it to satisfy my needs in a way that I can focus on Krishna. Then you can become detached and very, very determined and intentional about your bhakti. And then bhakti becomes very easy, because you're not going crazy. I need this, I need that, I have to do this, I have to do that. This will make me happy, this won't. And part of what Krishna wants for us to happen to us is that we enjoy ourselves in this world, we enjoy our senses in a way that we just want to give everything up. And sometimes Krishna is amazing. Krishna would bless a devotee. You can read in Bhagavatam after some incident, Krishna blesses a devotee and he says, I give you all facility to enjoy this world. You think, oh, why would Krishna do that? Because the devotee has no desire to enjoy. So Krishna says, I want to make your life easy, so you'll have servants, you'll have comfortable couches, you'll have all these things. Because I don't want my devotee to have a difficult life. And so I'm going to give you all these things, because now I know you are not going to be deviated by them. So, you think Krishna wants us to suffer and go through all kinds of difficulties? Not really. Then the question is, but why am I going through difficulties? Why does this happen? Because if we didn't, we wouldn't become detached. We would be here forever. Churches would be empty. If everybody's happy sensually, if everything's great, churches will be empty. So, but when a devotee comes to this point where he's completely detached, and Krishna says, okay, I give you all sensual power and ability to enjoy this world, because then the devotee's life will be easier and more comfortable, and he also has more facility to spread Krishna consciousness. So Krishna, he's ready to make your life easy and comfortable if you'll never live an easy and comfortable life. If he gives you everything, but you'll still get up at 2 a.m. and chant, 32 rounds, whatever. So Krishna will go, yeah, here's a beautiful home. Here's a nice couch you can sit on to chant your 32 rounds at 2 a.m. He'll give you all these things because they'll no longer disturb you. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. Okay, we have a comment from Venerati. In my case, this material sense gratification does not work. Still, I don't want to go back home, back to God. All I want is my anxiety to finish. It's more like wanting liberation. Yeah, you want the pain to go away. But if you're not pure, when the pain goes away, then you're going to think about sense gratification. So better keep the pain. No, Venerati, that's not a blessing for you to be in pain. But think about this. If we're not Krishna conscious and we're in pain, the pain becomes the motivation to move towards Krishna. It's a fact. It does. And if we're not very Krishna conscious and Krishna removes all the pain, then the problem is that might leave us open to now start thinking about sense gratification rather than how I can serve Krishna. So if that's the case, Krishna may keep the pain long enough to come to the point where if he takes it away, you won't think about sense gratification. So that's something to think about. That ask yourself in your heart, is it true? Because if it's true, Krishna may create situations for you to cause a little more pain, to get you to that point where you say, okay, I've had it, Krishna. Now just please help me relieve this, and I'll serve you. And so generally, we understand if there's some pain, it's ultimately meant to push and help us, and we need that. And so whenever there's pain, it's very, very helpful to just think, this must mean that Krishna is giving me this pain because I need it. It must be helpful for me. It must in some way be dealing with some anartha I have, and the pain is purifying me of this anartha. And I need it. And if we think that way, it's so easy to accept it. It's just amazing. It's just so easy to accept it because we realize I must need this for some reason. Some attachment I have, some anartha I have, or some lesson I need to learn, and the pain is bringing this lesson, or the pain is bringing the experience that will detach me. And so whenever there's something that's not right, there's something painful, if we think that way, we'll always feel, okay, this is good. Something good is happening. I may not know what it is. Or, if you think about it, you may know what it is. By thinking about it, you may start to understand this pain that I'm experiencing, Krishna's arranging this because of this reason. And he wants me to move from over here to center because I'm too attached over here. And the pain is pushing me back to center. And I tend to sway and gravitate towards the left, and then I suffer, and Krishna pushes me back to the center. When I come to that point where I don't gravitate to the left, and Krishna says, okay, no more pain, because I don't have to keep pushing you back. Every time you go left, I push you back. I don't have to push you back. That's the idea. So you can think like this way and try to think, well, what's Krishna telling me? Or at least if you don't know, think, it's good. This is good. This is like Guru Nishta. She is so detached. She was in America. They actually couldn't stay in America. There was a flaw with the government. And the government actually gave them a green card when they shouldn't. And then later on they realized they made a mistake and they said, you have to leave America in 6 weeks if you can't straighten things out. And they couldn't straighten things out, so they came to India. And you know how difficult it is to move just down the street, what to speak of country to country. And she'd been there for so many years with all her things, and sell your car and all your stuff, and ship it all to India and set it up. And then they got to India, and then they didn't even stay in their home. They rented a place. And then they decided we're going to move to Australia. And then they had to move again, moving another country. How difficult it was. And they had to spend so much money on a visa. And they went to Australia for 5 months or so. And her husband couldn't find employment. They needed some record that you've been working in Australia. And they couldn't. And then they moved back to India. And she's very detached now. And she's very dependent on Krishna. And she's got lots of realizations. Now, I'm not happy that she went through all that, but I'm happy that she's got realization from it, and detachment, and more determination in Krishna consciousness. And so I don't know exactly why Krishna is putting her through that. She has to understand that. Maybe Krishna wants her to be more dependent. Maybe there's something. She can tell you. But at the end of the day, or the end of the life, when you look back at it, you'll understand it. Yeah, I was this or that, and Krishna did me this or that. I have a tendency to get very attached to this, so Krishna didn't make this happen. I never was able to get this in my life, because if I did, I'd become so attached, so he never gave it to me. A lot of times it's like that. You really want something, and Krishna's like, there's no way I'm going to give you that to you, because if I give that to you, that's going to be more important to you than your relationship with me. So Krishna's saying, forget it. Only when you're a pure devotee, I'll give it to you. So a lot of times what we see is that when somebody becomes pure, then Krishna says, okay, here, take this. And it's at the point where they don't want it because now they're pure and detached. And they say, Krishna, why did you wait so long to give it to me? You know that 20 years ago I wanted it. And if Krishna could speak to you at that moment, he'd say, I know you wanted it 20 years ago, but if I gave it to you 20 years ago, that would have become so important to you that your relationship with me would have suffered because of that. But now, because you're fixed in devotional service, I can give it to you, and I know you want it, and it's not going to, I just want to give you what you want, and it's not going to bother you. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Krishna likes to give things to his devotees, but he's not going to give things which will cause a problem. So sometimes Krishna gives us some problem. Just think, I need it, I must need it, this must be good for me. I don't like the way it feels, it's putting me in anxiety, but if I switch it around and think, it's good, this anxiety is good, it's detaching me from something, it's making me more dependent, it's making me look at things more philosophically, whatever it is, then it's good. Yes? So, Venarati, if you could use that anxiety you're experiencing to push you to Krishna, to be more dependent, more prayerful, more introspective, why is this happening? Have I created it? Is Krishna making this arrangement to push me, to teach me something? Then the anxiety will actually be a force under you. But if it's just anxiety, then it drains your energy. So why don't you meditate on that and see what happens? Okay? So I think we can end class here. And we'll see you next Monday. And I think next Monday we're going to do 2 classes. These classes are especially, this time is especially for Australia, although it's good for so many of you in other parts of the world. But next week we do 2 classes. We do one on women, and it starts an hour earlier than this class started, which is 5:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's 7:15 p.m. in Sydney, Australia, and then you can figure out the time. But we started this class today. Well, let me tell you what time it is. Here it is 7:44 a.m. So we're going to start that class at 5:15, which means 2.5 hours earlier than now. So next Monday morning, 2.5 hours earlier than now, we're going to start a class on the topic of women, and it's a series. And we're going to talk about women association, the importance of women associating with women in their spiritual lives and how to do that and why it's the special benefit and need of it. And then that will go for an hour, and hopefully we'll end at an hour. Sometimes we go longer. And then at 6:15, which is the same time we started this class, we will do a class on dissatisfaction, and we'll continue discussing this topic. And Sundari Radha, if you could do me a favor, if you could go over these classes, now they've been posted on SoundCloud, and highlight the main points, because sometimes in my inspiration I say things and then I leave and go in my life and I forget. And I think there's a lot of good points here which we want to present to the non-devotees, because we want to do a course on happiness and satisfaction for non-devotees. And I think I've made some points here that maybe I won't remember when it comes to writing. So if you have time, or actually any of you can do it. It would be a good exercise. I'll give this assignment to any of you. Go to SoundCloud, listen to the classes on dissatisfaction, and write down all the main points, especially points which you think would be relevant to non-devotees, and send them to me, because I think some of these points could be lectures just in themselves, just one point. Okay? So, Hare Krishna to all of you. If you're in Ireland tonight at 7 p.m. your time, you can hear class. It's being given on Skype, set up by the Irish devotees. There is a possibility, actually, you could be Skyped into that class. I didn't think about it. They're all in one place, and I'm doing Skype to them. But if you want to be Skyped in, on Skype, there's a Skype address called Dublin Hare Krishna Temple, or Dublin, Ireland Hare Krishna Temple. And it's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. their time. if you want to be Skyped in, maybe you can send them a message and say, could you Skype me into this class? And therefore, wherever you are, you'd be Skyped in. So, that's an idea. Okay. Sounds like a plan. Hare Krishna. Maybe we'll see you tonight. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.